Hello! You are watching the Hustle and Know Entrepreneurial Experience. We are an entrepreneurship book club moving into the podcast world. My name's Julie. I'll be your host today. And joining us, we have Joseph Warren, co-owner of Financial Planning HQ. And we also have Shawn Townley, entrepreneur, consultant, speaker, and geek. So, with that being said, let's get started. Yay! Okay, so today we're going to discuss the book Essentialism, The Disciplined Pursuit of Less by Greg McKeown. So, first question, team. In one word or sentence, give me your synopsis of the book. If you were the author, what is the main point that you want the reader to take away from this book? How about Joseph? Okay, you go first since you volunteered.
Okay. I never do one word. You guys know that. I'm a wordy guy. But in one sentence, essentialism basically says stop trying to have it all. Stop trying to do everything and take on the world. That's two sentences already. But we live in a culture of more and more and more. People always want, they want more opportunities. They want to be able to have their cake and eat it too. But really, life is about trade-offs. You have to really think about what you really want, what your best case scenario is, and then go for that. Otherwise, it would pull in all different directions, and nothing will work out. You'll really get nowhere. Look at that. Yeah.
I was just saying I wasn't going to bring the cat in, and then you...
Bring her in. Bring her in.
Oh, so cute. Okay. Very true, Joseph. I think that's a huge point that he makes is that, like, you know how they say it's either your job, your work, or your social life. Oh, wait, your job, your social life, or your health, like that triangle. You can only have to be any of the two, and you have to pick. He's basically saying that, but like in a different manner. But basically saying, it's all about priorities, and it's all about what is important to you and what is essential. And because everything can't be essential or nothing is. So you really have to pick on what's important in your life and follow that as like your principle, your guiding principle. So that's a little bit. What do you think, Shawn?
Yeah, that's choose. If I had to choose one word, the word would be choose.
Choose, yeah. True. Maybe. Yeah, I'm going to think about one word. I'm going to think about the one word. Go ahead, Shawn.
Enough. Having enough and knowing when it is enough. And then, unplugging, which is one of my big things. I need to start unplugging more. I think I use the first hour of the day very well, but I could probably do more later in the day unplugging. I would like to start doing some more reading before, get away from screens, more or less. Not this screen, because this show is awesome and then people should watch it whenever they can. But the rest of the stuff you should unplug from and just not try to do it all. That's why I think I'm moving away from YouTube and going more to podcasts. You can listen to podcasts in more places. If it doesn't demand that you're watching it, you can listen to it in a car, you can listen to it on a walk, you can do some other.
True, but I also listen to music on YouTube, so technically...
No. And I do at work, when I'm working here, I'll throw on some YouTube in the background. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very true. Well, that's true. I actually want to mention also, the one word I would say is clarity. Clarity. You need to have clarity in your life, basically on what's important. But he actually did say this in the book, and he's like, if you take one thing away from this book, he laid it out for us, guys. Remember this. Whatever decision or challenge or crossroads you face in your life, simply ask yourself, what is essential? And eliminate everything else. It's deep, right?
Easier said than done.
Definitely easier said than done. Which I think also goes into like how, like, Joseph, I know you've said before how you're usually like a yes man. If somebody asks you something, you just say yes, yes, yes. And how you've been trying to learn this past year, like, to say no. And he does talk about that in the book. You can't say yes to everything. You can only say yes to what's really essential when it comes down to it. Because there's just not enough time.
It should be no.
Yeah.
Because you're saying no to something else when you're saying yes.
Yeah. Yes is final because it locks you in, but no opens up a lot of possibilities. You can do pretty much anything else, right?
Mm-hmm. True. Yeah. Okay. Moving forward. Tell us what you liked best about the book and what you disliked about the book. What was good? What was bad? Joseph?
Yeah, I'll do it.
What was okay?
What I liked about the book,
Mm-hmm.
it's straight to the point. It kind of reminds me of Atomic Habits. It doesn't waste time. It's not saying the same thing over and over. It's kind of like adding and adding, I thought. So I thought it was well written and sort of an essentialist book in that it really sticks to its topic, if that makes sense, and doesn't, I don't know, like everything was useful. Everything added on to the last point they were making. Like it had a really logical organization. First, here's the problem that we have in our society of wanting to take it all on. Here's what you can do to make things better and make your life more a life of essentialism. And then here's how you can start eliminating all the things that don't serve you anymore. So I just like the organization. What I didn't like about it, that's kind of tough.
You can think about it. Don't feel the pressure to answer right now. But I'll jump in and save you, Joseph. What I really liked about the book is he said this huge lesson that he learned, and I was like, wow, that's so true, is that if you don't prioritize your life, somebody else will. So it's like, and he gives the example of when, I'm pretty sure it was him when he was talking about this story. He was talking about how I guess he had just had his a newborn child, and his wife was in the hospital with the newborn, just giving birth, and how his business partner had told him, like, you know, like, even a week before the baby was due, and was like, hey, we're going to have this client meeting on Friday, so hopefully the baby doesn't come on Friday or something like that. And then, sure enough, the baby's born, I think maybe on Thursday. And the guy's like, so you're going to come to the meeting, right? And then he, like, kind of looked at his wife, and he's like, I don't know, I mean, I guess I should go. It's my business too, right? And then he goes to the meeting, and then everybody's all like, why are you here? Like, and basically it backfired on him because it gave the clients like a bad taste in their mouth. Like, really, you're going to pick this? Like, when you just had a baby, why are you here? Like, so he learned that lesson, that if you don't prioritize yourself and stand your ground and say, no, I'm not going to this client meeting, you handle it, I just had a child, then somebody else, your partner, is going to tell you, come and do it for you. So I thought that was like a huge lesson, because it applies to everything. You know, if you just live your life in the day-to-day, like, willy-nilly, I'm just going to go through the motions, and something's going to come up and you're going to say yes, and then you're going to look back and be like, why did I even do that? Somebody else is going to choose your life for you if you don't do it yourself. So I thought that was just great advice, and a great lesson that we could all really learn. So what do you think, Shawn?
Did you say what you didn't like?
Not yet, but I mean,
we're
just natural conversation, Shawn. It doesn't have to be a strict template.
Goodness gracious. Can't stick to one word. We can't stick to, we're just all over the place. That's cool. I mean, this is going into my, probably top 10 books. I like it. I mean, I like the message, the fact that it's right. It's almost what was the name? James Altucher was saying too. You have to learn how to say no. He said he had a problem with saying yes all the time, similar to what Joseph was experiencing. But it's true. I mean, if you don't say no, if you don't understand the power of no, everyone else is going to run your life. I mean, he talked a lot about, hey, I've got this problem now. I'm going to make it your problem. So when you read email, that's what you're doing, right? You're checking in to see what other people's problems are. You're not doing what you need to do first. So that's something I will absolutely take into consideration, is making those decisions, consciously making decisions like that. I did a pretty good job with my kids growing up. I made practices. I made the games. I didn't choose the other. I didn't care about if I was going to get promoted, because I knew that this time wasn't going to last very long, especially with the kids. So I can totally relate to that. And hopefully I've taught my kids that as well. If you think you have to never see your family to succeed, that's just bullshit. I mean, that's not success. That's hell as far as I'm concerned. So as far as what I didn't like about the book, I thought it was, for being, I thought it was going to be a short book, but it ended up being longer than I thought it needed to be. He did have some deals, and it sounds like Joseph liked the building on, but the concept's pretty simple. You have to make a choice and stick with it, and not live anything else outside of that to get the full enjoyment of that one thing. So you're not just spread out in a million different directions. So the book could have probably been a little shorter, in my opinion.
I will admit that too. There were a couple parts where he did repeat the same concepts a couple times, but I think he was really just trying to reiterate it. I actually really liked this book. Like, I think a lot of concepts that we learn in this book are concepts that we've learned before in other books. Like, I kept saying, oh, we learned that from Atomic Habits. Oh, we learned that in, like, I forget the book now, but it's like the one we just read at the end of last year about being a good leader, something like that. But either way, I kept thinking, like, we've heard this before, but I think that's just going to be natural with us reading all these books, right? There's going to be some similarities. But I feel like if I had to pick one thing that I disliked, really, it would be when he was talking near the end of the book that you are either an essentialist or you are sometimes an essentialist, basically saying, like, how you can pick essentialism for certain things, but overall you're not. And he was kind of looking, I felt like it gave the impression that he was looking at, if you're sometimes essentialist, that's like bad. Like, you suck. You either need to be an essentialist or you just suck in life. So, which maybe have not been his intention, but that's just, I felt kind of attacked. Like, you
Maybe
have to.
Funny accent, huh? Maybe it's funny accent.
Accent that's messed up. Yeah, he was British. I also did like how he voiced his own book in Audible. Normally they have somebody else read it, and I'm like, so annoying. So that's what I didn't like. Joseph, did you think about what you didn't like?
You didn't like his voice. I just want to jump off of that. You didn't like his voice because he's British?
No, Shawn was just saying that.
I was just trying to be funny. I'd say he had a funny accent, that's all.
Good.
It was okay. I mean, yeah.
You don't have to pick something you didn't like. There's been some books where you like them so much you can't talk bad about it. So I respect that decision.
I guess you could improve it maybe with some challenges of things you could do to get you outside your comfort zone into this new way of thinking of being an essentialist. I guess that would be one thing you could have.
Good. Look at you. Okay. Well, this is going to be a quick session today. Well, we are making it an essential session. Okay, so what is something that you learned from the book that you didn't know before? And give me an example of how you're going to apply it to your life. Who wants to go first?
I'll go. I think it's not something that I necessarily learned from the book, but I've been kind of looking into essentialism for a while. I mean, I'm kind of digging the idea to where, I'm only going to wear black shirts, or, not have to think about what my look is going to be like, because I wear the same sort of things over and over, and to just have a few of them in my closet, making my closet smaller, getting stuff out of my garage, which we did, and we did some of our spring cleaning in the winter. I like less is more. That way, what you have, you can spend more time with it. You can learn it better, and those types of deals. Like, instead of collecting guitars, I just have a couple of guitars, but I play them all the time. That kind of deal. I think that's how I want to go through life. I like going into places that don't have a lot of clutter in them. I'm like probably the opposite of a hoarder, right? I constantly keep things straight because I don't want to look at, all the clutter and stuff like that. It's why I get a little claustrophobic when I go downtown into cities, right? Because there's so much stuff in one place, and I just feel more at peace when I'm out in the middle of nowhere. It's probably why I will live in Texas all my whole life, because there's a lot of land and a lot of space out there. So I get excited when I think about having less things that I don't have to keep up with or maintain, and have to worry about, and then just rent stuff as I need it and then give it back. I don't have to own it. I mean, we don't have to live in a society where we have to own everything we do, especially if we don't use it all the time. I mean, think about, honestly, even your car, right? And during this last year, how much time did you actually spend in your car? And think about what it costs to own a car, right? Just the cost of the car is not cheap. To keep it insured, maintain, fuel, all that kind of stuff. It's kind of ridiculous. You could probably take some Ubers, some places, and do it a lot cheaper than owning a car. I haven't gone to that extreme yet because it's still Texas and there's a lot of places I still want to drive.
I was going to say, speak for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I do, but one day, who knows? Yeah, less is more. That's what I'm going to take away from this is learning how to do even more with less and get rid of some stuff, sell it, make some money, whatever.
I think that's a good point, Shawn. I want to say, from what I was taking away from this book, I think you're talking more like minimalism. I don't really know if his concept, like essentialism, is minimalism. Like, I think you can still have plenty of things, like you don't have to, because I remember watching like that documentary on Netflix maybe a couple years back about those minimalists, and the guy, they only have like 1 or 2 plates, like one thing of fork, silver, well, whatever, but and it just makes him so happy, like, but I think we could still have enough that's comfortable for a living. But
that's a great point. Maybe I did hear the minimalist in it more than the essentialist. I mean, I think you need to concentrate on what you do want to spend your time on. But you're right. I guess I did hear a very powerful minimalism message in there. Maybe more so than what was really.
Okay, that worked for you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go hand in hand, it's like minimalism with your time, right? But also with your stuff. Because it's also wastes a lot of time to have a lot of stuff. Or to have a lot of like extraneous space as well too, I think. So.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect way. It's like minimalism with your time. Good. We went full circle. That was like the first question.
That's the whole deal right there.
Right?
There's your one sentence you were looking for.
I know, right? Joseph, what about you? What is something you learned that you didn't know before, and how are you going to apply it to your life?
I think you really pose some really great questions you can ask yourself to question what you're doing. And when it comes to minimalism with your stuff, you could ask, if I didn't own this already, how much money would I pay to own it? And it can really get to the root of like, should I throw this away or not? Is it really worth keeping? But in the time, if I didn't have this opportunity, what would I be willing to do to get this opportunity? I love that question, and that's what I'm going to put into practice. When people come to me with something like an opportunity, because I really think you have to choose. Like, if you don't choose, you live that life of default, like you're saying. So it'd be great to have a litmus test to only go after like the greatest or the best opportunities that really fit what I want, instead of just like settling for things that are good, but maybe it won't get me to exactly what I want. So my question, if I didn't have this opportunity, what would I be willing to do to get this opportunity? And if it's not something like really substantial, then being like, never mind, no, in a nice way.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man, I remember that now that you're saying it. That's an awesome lesson for sure, and something to apply, which is also similar to what I'm going to apply. At one point in the book, he talks about going even deeper into essentialism, like even more, and he called it the 90% rule. So he's like, when battling a decision, if the answer isn't a definite yes, then the answer is no. You know what I mean? Yeah. So basically, you think about the single most important criteria, and anything that doesn't meet that top 90% is automatically out. So, like, he used an example of this guy who was trying to decide where to live, and I guess this guy was from Australia, and he was like, I could move to Sydney, I could move to Melbourne, I think. A couple other towns in Australia, sorry, I don't know. And how he visited each of them and was like, I'm not really feeling crazy about any of them. So instead of just settling and picking one, he's like, I'm going to say no, and I'm going to wait to make that decision later. And then I think the guy ended up moving to New York. He might even be talking about himself. But anyways, then he ended up moving to New York for like a trip, and he fell in love with New York and the city, and was like, yes, this is where I want to live. So he basically chose not to settle just to make a quick decision, and instead waited until that right decision, and he was 90 to 100% sure of that. So I think that's so great. You know, like, I think even a lot of decisions in life, even like if you're going to go through a career change, you could be like, I could take this job, but I don't really know. If you're having doubts, like, answer's no, automatically. Don't even settle for that job. Like, just keep looking. And then he gives the same thing if you're an employer and you're looking for some employees and you're interviewing several, and if none of them, if you're like, I could hire them, but they're only like 60-70% decent, you're not that confident about it, but you're like, I could take a chance, no, automatically. If they're not your top 90%, nope. So I really thought that was an awesome concept, the 90% rule, and that's definitely something I'm going to be applying. Don't settle for anything. Life is awesome, guys. And these steps are going to help us make it the most optimal. The most essential.
It's like a Hennessy commercial. Don't settle. Didn't they used to say that on Hennessy?
I remember. Alky? No, just kidding. Okay, well, to keep it essential, we won't drag on too long. But is there any other really essential points that we want the audience to know?
I quit doing Duo, learning a new language because of this book. Because I was like, all I'm doing is gamifying myself. I'm not using the language, so I just stopped doing it. I decided to keep my meditation practice, but not pay for it anymore. You know, so I took some things right away, some action items right away, and you know, I think I need to continue down that trend. Just really kind of, you know, ask the why. Why am I doing this? Is it just because I think it's supposed to somehow be better for me? And if I don't get that warm and fuzzy or that 90%, stop doing it.
Okay.
I love that. Okay, I think the last thing I want to mention is he talks about giving yourself time to think is very important, you know? So same thing, we can get caught up in the day-to-day lives, and we really need to take time basically daily out of your lives to sit down and think about what's important, especially during times when we can be really stressed. I have all these things to do. He gave the advice to like sit down, make a list. What do I have to get done today that is essential? And then what do I have to get done maybe like by the end of the week? And make 2 separate lists and just get what needs to be done today and then forget about it. Knock it out and forget about it, because I think we put a lot of stress on our lives, but we need to, that's just another tip on how we can keep each other essential. You know, it's like how, Shawn, we've said in other sessions about emails, you know, emails. We don't really need to check all these emails, you know. It's not essential.
Now my computer yells at me. He says, like, you check emails within so many minutes of them coming in. That's stupid. Why are you doing that? That's stupid.
Nice.
But it doesn't use those words, but it kind of makes you think, right? So, I mean, do you need to check an email if it comes in your box within 15 minutes? Probably not. Do you block time?
Depending on your expectation. You know, some employers, they want you to reply like immediately, but depends. But either way, don't work for those companies. No, just kidding.
Don't work for them for sure.
Be more efficient. Yeah, because I think a lot of concepts in here we've also heard from, like the 4-hour work week, you know. So, and Atomic Habits for sure, about the whole habits and the cue and all of that. But anyways, back to wrapping up, what I was saying is that we need to take time to think about what's important in life and your day-to-day. And he gave the example of how even Bill Gates took off, like, I think a whole week when he was like at his peak in Microsoft during the most busiest time of the year, just to think and reflect about the bigger picture of where he wanted his business to go.
Yeah, he turned out all right.
Yeah, he's like pretty much the richest person in the world, I think. I think the only reason he's not the richest person in the world is because he's been donating money. Like, he's giving it back to charities. And so because of that, he's not. So I'm okay with that.
I'm sure there's enough to squeak by the.
It's not worth it to keep that title. He's like, what's the point? It's not a part of his mission. That's not essential. Anyway, thank you so much for watching us, the Hustle and Know Entrepreneurial Experience. You can find more about the book in the description, and please like, comment, and let us know what you thought about the book or anything that you're applying. Let us know. We want to hear it. So thank you so much again for watching, and don't forget, hustle beats talent when talent doesn't hustle. Bye. See you guys next time.